characters, incidents, names, and situations used in this story are fictitious. The resemblance to any person living or dead is purely coincidental. The following video contains some horror elements and suitable for a mature audience, 16 plus. This channel and video is not for kids. Hello friends, I am Arian, and welcome to our channel, Midnight Horror Stories, where you get to hear true and scary ghost stories. But before starting the story, all the friends who have come to this channel for the first time, please subscribe to the channel, and if you like the story, then definitely introduce yourself in the comment section. Then let's do not take much time and start our story quickly. The story I have brought to you today is a very terrible story of the world of horror. This incident is an incident that can happen to anyone on the road. He says that every human being has his own aura, but if your aura is very weak, then such incidents can happen to you very quickly. So the person with whom this incident has happened today is Naveen, who used to work in a factory. He is a resident of Uttar Pradesh and used to work there. But one night with them, something like this. A strange thing happens, after which their whole life changes suddenly. What changes life suddenly? Rather say that the whole life gets spoiled. His wife does not recognize this behavior inside him suddenly, and this incident also happened to him because his aura was a bit weak. Now see, I always tell you about aura, and the need for aura becomes very important in these things. Otherwise, any supernatural powers quickly dominate you. But if your aura is strong, no one can control you quickly. So when this whole incident starts happening with Naveen, his wife starts noticing this thing, that nowadays Naveen has started to be very rude. And by the time she understands all this, that thing made Naveen a victim so soon that he could not get out of it. But he says that even if the husband's aura is weak, but his wife, who is half-sister, if she is strong, she has full faith in God, then she can save her husband on her own, and here his wife played a similar role. So let's start today's incident. A small town in Uttar Pradesh named Kashipur. About 3 years ago, a man named Naveen went to live with his wife in that city. Actually, Naveen had a new job in a very big factory, and for this, he got a lot of money. They were getting money. That is why he shifted from Bareilly to Kashipur, but they didn't have their own home there. So they rented a house. The house was quite large and in a secluded area away from the crowd. By secluded area, I meant houses around, but they didn't care much about anyone. The people there were busy with their work. In such a situation, the house was very peaceful for Naveen and his wife. One night at around 9 p.m. on the paved road of Kashipur, Naveen was walking with full speed on his bike. He was very much that day. He was happy because he had found out that very morning that his wife was pregnant, and ever since he found out about it, his heart was stuck in his wife. Naveen went against the family and married Manisha, but Naveen's family did not accept Manisha. Later, Naveen started feeling that perhaps when he had a child, the family would accept both of them. He had been married for 5 years, and in 5 years he was flying in the sky with the good news of the child. She wears a new yellow sari for Manisha and sweets of her choice. I was carrying. Immersed in the thought of his happiness, Naveen was riding the bike fast in the dark night. That's when he found a girl on the side of the road with a fairly heavy suitcase, with which the girl was moving forward with a lot of effort. Naveen felt a little strange when he saw a beautiful young girl walking with a heavy suitcase on a dark night. Naveen wondered where a girl was going with such a heavy suitcase on such a dark and dreary night. For a moment, Naveen wondered if there was a dead body inside it. That's why he was a little nervous. Gone. Naveen overtook the girl, but the next moment he realized that he should not go on being oblivious like this. Naveen's father was an army officer. Therefore, he also had a sense of patriotism in his mind, and that is why he decided that he would interrogate the girl as to where the girl was going with such a heavy suitcase and what was in that suitcase. If he has the slightest doubt, he will immediately call the police, because it was not possible for a girl to carry heavy luggage alone in such a late night. Naveen turns his bike back, and he gets closer to that girl. Seeing Naveen coming to her, the girl also stops. The sweat was flowing on the girl's forehead very fast, and surprisingly, the girl was sweating only on her forehead. There was not a drop of sweat on the face or any other place. Naveen had noticed this, and he also found it a bit strange. Naveen asks, "Hey madam, are you alone in such a night?" Here the girl cut Naveen's talk and said, "Where alone? Naveen looks around him. He does not see anyone around. He says, "You." "You are alone," the girl says. "Where am I alone?" Now you are with me. Naveen makes a strange face on this matter. He asks, "Hey, where are you going with such heavy luggage alone in this night, and that too on foot? Did you not get any ride?" The girl wipes the sweat from her forehead and says that I got an auto, but it turned out to be very rude. Naveen said, "Misbehaving. Something is wrong with you." She said, "I tried, but I am also very strong." She fought him and ran away. "No auto or other vehicle is available now. That's why I'm walking alone." Naveen asked, "Oh, by the way, what's in this bag? Looks quite heavy." As soon as she asked this, the girl calmed down and started thinking about something. Naveen's suspicion deepened. He immediately tried to grab hold of the suitcase, but the girl put her hand on the suitcase and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" Naveen said, "Nothing. I was trying to help you. I'll put this bag on my bike and drop you home." Hearing this, a smile comes on the girl's face. She immediately says, "Really?" Naveen also smiled and said, "How far will you drag such heavy stuff in such a night?" The girl thanks Naveen with a smile and sits on his bike. Naveen starts his bike and walks forward. All that was on his mind was that he would go straight to the police station because he suspected that there must be something wrong with the suitcase. All his attention was on the suitcase alone. At the time he was driving, he had a feeling that it was getting very cold around him. It was the month of May. He doesn't know that he has such a thing. Why did it seem? There were no clouds in the sky. There was no wind. Still, Naveen had a feeling that the temperature around had dropped completely. He drove quite comfortably. After a while, he felt as if the bike had become too heavy. It's like there's a lot of weight on the bike. He was not able to handle the bike, and then suddenly his car jerked and the bike slipped. As a result, both the girl and Naveen fell down. At the same time, the girl's suitcase also fell down and open. When Naveen takes care of himself, his eyes fall on the contents of the suitcase. It seemed as if Naveen's eyes were looking for something, and the items scattered from the suitcase contained only clothes and some notebooks. Naveen was a little surprised to see this, as he expected something else. But here he was, proved wrong. Well, he was embarrassed at his thinking. Now Naveen starts helping her and lifting her belongings. While picking up the luggage, Naveen's hand is seen to be a small piece of stone, which was completely black in color, but had a different shine. It looked like a stone, but it probably wasn't a stone. There was no gem. New Instant asks, "What is this?" The girl steals her eyes and snatches the stone from Naveen's hand and says, "Nothing. It's of no use to you." But how did this bike suddenly slip? Naveen's attention goes to the bike. He stands up and takes a good look at his bike. He also does not understand that there is no pit ahead. If there are no stones, then what happened to the bike all of a sudden? Naveen says he doesn't know. Whatever it is, the night is about to deepen. "Tell me where to leave you?" When Naveen was questioning the girl, he felt a strange pain in his body. It felt like the nerves inside were pulling. He couldn't understand what was happening to him. The girl was also looking at Naveen very intently. But in a short time, Naveen calmed down. Naveen said to the girl again, "Let's sit down and tell me, where should I leave you?" The girl looked around with sad eyes and said, "Yes, I am new in this city. There is no place yet. Just drop me off to a hotel." Naveen wondered, "Are you new? And that's how you're stumbling in the middle of the night?" "Hey, ma'am, I would have taken care of the time in the hotel. See you near the station. I think you're coming from the station." The girl said, "Yes, but there was no room empty on that side. That's why I will find a rental house on this side soon." On hearing this, Naveen feels sorry for the girl. He asks, "You don't know anyone here, so how did you come here?" The girl said, "Yes, I am from a nearby village. I have studied well. There are 2 younger sisters at home. My parents were recently killed in an accident. That's why I thought of going to the city and doing a job so that the sisters I can improve the future." Naveen says, "Oh, but madam does not get a job by carrying such stuff alone here. You should have looked for a job here earlier. Then I should have thought of settling here. I have also come from outside and live in a rented house." Worry lines begin to emerge on the girl's face. Then one thing comes to Naveen's mind, that why not take this girl to his house? Manisha lives alone in the house. He needs someone with him too. I'm at work all day and this girl will find a support too. That's why Naveen says, "Yes, you can go to my house if you want." The girl hesitantly says, "But you yourself live in a rented house. Then how can I come to your house?" Naveen says yes, there is a rented house, but it is quite big. There are 2 rooms in the house. 1 room remains empty. You can stay there if you want. Until you get a job, until you get a good house, you stay there. Look, it is not safe for a single girl to go to the hotel at this time anyway. My wife lives in my house. She lives alone. You'll get along with him too. That, the girl says, "Oh no, why are you upset? It doesn't feel right to live in someone's house like this." Naveen says, "Oh, no problem. When you get a job, pay the rent as you wish. I'm doing you a little favor. I'm just helping. The rest is your choice. But imagine for yourself, it's almost 10 o'clock now. Where will you go at this time? It may be that there was no room vacant in the hotel near the station. If there are no hotels available even within the city, where will you stumble?" After some thinking, the girl is ready to go with Naveen. It happens. Naveen then brings her to his house. Manisha was also a little upset to see Naveen getting late that day. She was repeatedly calling Naveen's number, but the number was going off the switch. That's when the house bell rings. Manisha quickly opens the door and breathes a sigh of relief after finding her husband in front of her. But the next moment, a lot of questions begin to arise in her mind because a beautiful young girl was standing with her husband. Manisha keeps looking at Naveen with a lot of questions in her mind. Then Naveen introduces Manisha to the girl. He says, "Manisha." This madam suddenly cuts her talk and says, "Naveen? Hey madam, I didn't even ask your name. What's your name?" The girl says, "My name is Disha." Naveen says, "Okay, my name is Naveen, and this is my wife, Manisha. Let's go home." They both seem to come in. Manisha asks, "Naveen, who is this?" "I have seen them for the first time." Naveen tells Manisha the whole story of Disha. Manisha also feels very bad after hearing about Disha, so she also agrees to keep Disha in her house. Manisha cooks food for everyone. They talk to each other for a while. Manisha then shows Disha her room. That night, Naveen had slept oblivious because he was tired from the whole day. But a drummer rings in Manisha's ears, because of which his eyes are opened. Gradually, that voice starts to get louder. Manisha looked at the clock, and it was 2 o'clock in the night. She wonders who is beating the drum so late at night. When Manisha comes out of the house, now the sound stops. Manisha goes back into the house, but back at home. As soon as he leaves, the sound of drums starts coming again. Manisha's steps stop. Then she goes out of the house with speed, then once again the sound stops. Now Manisha feels a little weird. She wonders if this voice is just coming from my house. She stands outside for a while and tries to listen to that voice again, but there is no sound of drumming for a long time. She then goes inside her house and once again the voice starts reaching Manisha's ears. Now Manisha gets nervous. She quickly goes to her room. Manisha thinks that she is Naveen. Pick up. But seeing Naveen's tired face, Manisha does not dare. Manisha starts looking around nervously. Then his eyes fall outside the window, where he could see the shadows of 4 people who were dancing among themselves. The shadows looked like they were all women. It seemed that maybe someone was on the roof because the light of the ceiling light was falling on the ground. Manisha doesn't stop at the sight of those shadows. She immediately picks up Naveen. "Rise new, wake up early." Naveen also breaks his sleep and says, "What? Did you have a bad dream?" Fear was clearly visible on Manisha's face. Manisha nervously says, "There is someone on the terrace. Let's hurry up." What does Naveen say? Who could be on the roof? "Didn't you lock the door?" Manisha says, "I had closed well, and I had just woken up. The door was locked from inside." Naveen says then, "Who went on the terrace how?" Manisha says, "I don't know all that, but you come now. There is someone in our house who is probably playing the drums. Don't you hear the sound?" Naveen says no. Manisha notes that the truth. The sound has stopped. She says upset now that voice has stopped. But a while ago that voice was coming very fast and then I saw some shadows. Naveen says, "Fine, don't panic, I will go and see." Naveen starts going to the terrace. Manisha also follows him, but there was nothing on the terrace. Naveen says, "Hey, Manisha will be your wife. You must have had a dream. There's nothing here." Manisha herself was surprised how this could happen. Naveen grabs Manisha's hand and takes her downstairs. But the mind just lives in the sound of drums and those shadows. After thinking about all this throughout the night, Manisha goes to sleep in the morning. The next day when she opens her eyes, she sees that it is 9 a.m. and Naveen is not in her room. She calls out to Naveen, but Naveen doesn't answer. Manisha says to herself, "Oh my God, how did I get up late today? He seems to have gone to work without breakfast today." Manisha goes to the veranda and sees that Disha is sitting on a chair reading the newspaper. Manisha asks Disha, "Oh, you're up too. I guess I'm late today." Disha keeps the newspaper in a corner and says, "Yes, Didi, you are late, but you do not worry. I had prepared breakfast and served it to Naveenji. He must have reached the factory in time." Manisha is relieved to hear that Naveen has not gone hungry. Manisha thanks Disha and gets busy with her household chores. That's how almost a week passes. One day, Manisha was working in the kitchen when she felt as if someone called her from outside. Manisha also immediately answered, "Yes, I did." This voice was completely new to him. She wondered who had come to meet me in this unknown city. As soon as she goes to the door, she does not see anyone around, but a coconut placed on her door. Manisha thinks, what is this coconut doing at my door? She picks up the coconut and puts it aside. Manisha was an educated girl, so she did not believe in things like superstitions at all, and so nothing came to Manisha's mind that it could be wrong. She goes out and looks to see if she might have a person. Look at the one who has kept this coconut, but he doesn't see anyone far away. Manisha turns to come back into the house and finds a lemon buried in the doorframe with a nail on the top. Manisha also finds it very strange. At the same time, a cold breeze passes through Manisha's body, due to which Manisha also feels very cold. At the same time, there is a sharp pain in his head. The pain was so severe that Manisha could not even reach her room and lay down on the sofa on the veranda outside. She starts pressing her head. Just then, Disha comes out of her room and asks, "Hey Manisha Didi, what happened? Are you okay?" Manisha cries and says, "No, I am not fine at all. I have a sharp pain in my head." Disha also gets nervous. She quickly brings a painkiller from her room and feeds it to Manisha. But even that does not relax Manisha. Manisha cries and says, "Disha, please call Naveen. I don't know why I'm in pain, but I can't take it." Disha says, "If you say, I will take you to hospital." Manisha says, "No, you call Naveen." Disha, on Manisha's insistence, strange mouth. She calls Naveen and calls him home. Naveen gets scared seeing Manisha's condition. He immediately takes Manisha to the hospital, where Manisha is tried to put her to sleep by giving her sleep injections. But she was still in a half-panicked sleep. He was not getting unconscious properly because the pain was quite severe. Sometimes the pain was so severe that Manisha used to scream. In the midst of all this, a woman in the corridor who came to see someone she knew. His eyes also fall on Manisha. She was an astrologer. When the woman approached Manisha, when she had gone through, the woman had felt a negative energy, and with this, her attention also went to Manisha. 3 or 4 other people were also admitted in the ward where Manisha was admitted. The doctor and nurse were trying hard to calm Manisha, as the patients around were also facing problems. She went straight to Manisha and sidelined a nurse. The woman put her hand on Manisha's forehead and closed her eyes and muttered something to herself. He then blew a sharp blow on Manisha's forehead, and she did it at least 3 times. Again, in a short time, Manisha calmed down and went to sleep. Seeing this, the nurses and doctors there started hesitating a little because any such move in the world of science is equivalent to defeating science. Then a nurse said, "Come on, now all of you get out of here. Allow the patient to rest." Everyone came out into the corridor. Naveen was accompanied by Disha. The woman was staring at the direction again and again. Naveen was also noticing that why is this woman looking at Disha so much? But after going out, Naveen thanked the woman and asked about her. Then the woman told that my name is Roshni and I am an astrologer by profession. At the same time, I also know some mantra kriyas. Often some diseases are not even treated by the doctor because some things do not harm us naturally but harm us vengefully, which are not even solved within science. That is why sometimes some sick people come to me for their good health. The lady says to Naveen, "Son, how are these lines on your forehead? You seem to be new here." Saying this, Roshni Naveen's forehead. It starts to touch. At the time when the light was touching Naveen's forehead, Disha was staring at Roshni awkwardly. It seemed that Disha did not like it at all. Roshni puts her hand on Naveen's forehead for a few seconds, but suddenly, Naveen removes the woman's hand from his forehead and says, "What are you doing?" Roshni says nothing. "Now I will go." Saying this, Roshni steals her eyes and goes away from there. In a day or so, Manisha gets a lot of rest and she comes back to her house. But when Manisha comes back, she finds Naveen.
I see a slight change in my behavior. Manisha and Naveen took great care of each other. If Manisha had a mild fever, Naveen used to sit at home from his work, and now since Manisha and Naveen came back from the hospital, Naveen started living away from Manisha. Manisha also found it all a bit strange. One night Manisha was sleeping on her bed. When he suddenly opened his eyes in the middle of the night, he did not find Naveen near him and called Naveen. As soon as Naveen called out, the sound of drummers started ringing in Manisha's ears once again. Those drummers. Manisha was frightened by the voice. She quickly got out of bed and started going out. But suddenly he saw that there was a shadow on his door. Manisha once again called out to Naveen. "Naveen, are you?" But Naveen did not answer. Suddenly, the shadow started moving towards Manisha. Manisha, frightened by that shadow, started taking one step back and fell on the bed. As she fell on the bed, she felt her body burning. Manisha looked back and saw that there were coals on her bed instead of mattresses. Manisha came out of the room in a frenzy. I was desperate to leave, but the door didn't open. Then a voice started coming in Manisha's ears. "Naveen, Naveen," this voice was coming continuously. This voice was none other than Manisha's. Manisha kept looking around like crazy to see where the voice was coming from. When he didn't understand, he closed his eyes angrily. Then the loud sound of a laugh echoed throughout Fiza. Manisha panicked and closed her ears. With this, the sound of the drummer started getting louder. On hearing the sound of that drum, Manisha's mind started to go numb and she fainted. The next morning when Manisha regained consciousness, she found herself lying on the ground. He looked around the room and couldn't see Naveen. She started worrying for Naveen. She quickly opened the door and went out. He finds Naveen and Disha sitting together having breakfast. Manisha was shocked to see this. She wondered where Naveen had been all night and what was he doing with this direction now. Seeing Manisha in front of her, Disha says, "Come Manisha, come, you also have breakfast." She woke up very late. That's when Naveen says, "Good direction. Now I leave for the factory. I'm going to be late." Manisha keeps looking at Naveen's face. This was what was happening to him. He didn't understand. But she understood that something was definitely going on between Disha and Naveen. For a few days, Manisha kept watching Naveen's behavior like this. Then one day he asked Naveen, "Naveen, what is your problem? I see that you have been living with me cut off for a few days." Naveen says, "Manisha, please don't talk nonsense to me. I have a headache. There is a lot of pressure at work these days. More than Naveen, Manisha." He doesn't talk and leaves for his work, leaving Manisha. Tears keep flowing from Manisha's eyes, and she does not know what to do now. But a doubt arose in his mind. Regarding Naveen and Disha's relationship, she decided that she would keep an eye on Disha, and then that night Manisha did not sleep. Naveen came and lay down beside Manisha, but at around 3 a.m. Naveen got up from his bed and went straight out of the house. While Manisha hoped that maybe he would go to Disha's room. But that didn't happen. Manisha Naveen's chase. She started doing it. She covered her head with the pallu of her sari and slowly started walking behind Naveen. Naveen went to the forest behind the house in a hypnotized state. After crossing the forests, there was a flat plain which may have been a field before and has now become barren land. Manisha felt that perhaps it was not right for her to go to this flat place. So she stood behind a tree in the forest and started looking at Naveen. Naveen went to a place. He put both his hands upwards and began to go round and round. Gradually, there was the sound of drummers. Engaged. Then Manisha saw a light from a long distance. The sound of the drum also grew louder with the lights. It seemed that slowly that light was coming closer to Naveen. And as the picture of that light became clearer, Manisha saw that it was someone's two eyes. When she came closer, Manisha came to know that it was none other than Disha. Disha's eyes were shining like fire, which was very scary to see. Disha had draped a red sari around her body. He had a snake wrapped around one hand. The hair was long to the legs. The lips were red as if they had drunk someone's blood. Tibet. It was very beautiful and beautiful to look at. He was no ordinary person. Manisha got nervous seeing this look of Disha. She was about to scream. but he put his hand over his mouth. Disha smiled at Naveen. Disha's twinkling eyes were spreading a lot of light around. Naveen grabbed Disha's waist and pushed her towards him. Disha also hugs Naveen. Gradually, Disha's grip on Naveen became quite strong. Then suddenly they both sank into the ground together. Now Manisha could not stop herself and screamed. Naveen suddenly started thundering in the sky. Falling dark clouds. Engaged. The darkness deepened. Manisha did not think it right to delay any longer. She hurriedly ran to the spot where she had seen Naveen. But she was surprised. The ground was perfectly normal. There was no pit anywhere. Manisha was calling out to Naveen, but she did not know anything about Naveen. Neither the direction nor the new direction was visible far and wide. At the same time, it also starts raining. Manisha starts digging the ground like crazy. But that ground was pretty solid. Manisha screams, "Is there anybody help me? Someone save my husband." But there is no one to hear Manisha's voice. It wasn't. When Manisha sees that she is not getting help from anywhere, she decides to go to the police station. She crosses the forest back to the main road. It was now midnight. There were no taxis or autos in sight. Manisha was running desperately towards the police station. She was crossing a road when she collided with an auto and fell down. There was a woman sitting in the car. It was the same woman who helped Manisha in the hospital. Seeing the same light coming in front of his auto, the auto driver also immediately gets down from the auto and the lights also come down. As soon as Roshni sees Manisha, she recognizes her. She asks the auto driver to make Manisha sit with her. Roshni takes Manisha straight to her house. While Roshni was with Manisha, Manisha could smell a strange smell from inside Roshni. Roshni brings Manisha to her senses by taking her home. She gives him water and so on. As soon as Manisha regains consciousness, she once again shouts Naveen, Naveen and shouts. Roshni then explains to Manisha, both of Roshni Manishas. She shrugs her shoulders and says, "Son, come to your senses. Who are you calling? You are in my house right now and you are absolutely safe. Tell me what happened?" Manisha says, "Please save my husband. Not that direction, not direction, that which will kill my husband." Roshni understands from these few words of Manisha what has happened to Manisha and Naveen. She doesn't ask Manisha anything further but places her hand on Manisha's forehead and closes her eyes. Then the incidents with Manisha are seen in a series of ways in front of him. But he doesn't see the direction. Roshni tries hard to reach the direction through her powers but fails. Roshni opens her eyes angrily. Then she asks Manisha how she is a witch and not Disha. Manisha tells Roshni about the incident with Naveen. Roshni says, "From your words, it seems that she is probably a vampire. But where did you find this direction? I mean, how do you know it? I saw him in the hospital that day." So Manisha tells that. How did Manisha and Disha meet? How Naveen brought Disha to his house. When Roshni finds out that Disha lives in Naveen's house, then she surprises even more. Roshni says, "Son, can you take me to your house? I want to see Disha's room." Manisha says, "Yes, you go now." But as soon as they step outside the house, they find that it is still raining very fast. Manisha says, "How will we go to our house in such a situation? My car is also out of order," says Roshni. "One job. I do. I'll call the auto driver. He can take us home now." Roshni calls the auto driver. On paying more money, the auto driver also immediately comes to Roshni's house. They reach Manisha's house from there. But on the way, the auto driver has to face a lot of difficulties. Somewhere the water was overflowing and somewhere the tree was fallen. It seemed that there was someone who did not want Manisha and Roshni to go to Manisha's house. But Manisha and Roshni reach home, tearing all the troubles aside. As soon as they both enter the house, they have a strong smell in the house. Both of them put a cloth on their noses. Roshni says, "Whatever it is very dangerous. You two are in danger. Tell me, son, which is Disha's room." Manisha takes Roshni to Disha's room. But the room was folk. Manisha and Roshni together open Disha's room and are shocked to see the scene in front of them as there was blood everywhere in her room. Not only was there blood, but some insects were also squirming on the parts of blood. Manisha screams after seeing the scene. Lights too. She is shocked. But she handles Manisha and says, "Let's go out right now, son." They both sit outside on the sofa. Manisha was constantly crying. Roshni explains to Manisha that crying won't work at this time. We have to do something. Roshni and Manisha sit quietly for a while. The lights were constantly thinking about something. Then she says, Manisha, Disha came here, so there will be some stuff with her. Manisha says, yes, there was a suitcase. Roshni says, I have to see that suitcase. Take courage and walk with me. They are from the room on both sides. She takes out the suitcase and looks at it. Then Roshni gets the same stone that Naveen had seen. Roshni is surprised to see that stone. Sweat trickles down his face. She immediately throws the stone out of her hand. Manisha says, what happened, ma'am? Roshni says, Naveen's life is in danger. Disha is truly a vampire who drinks men's blood and keeps herself young, and this is no ordinary vampire. Do you see the stone? This stone is not an ordinary stone. This is the sign of the vampires who are in the group. Remains. It is a vampire that preys on men by staying in a group. Manisha says, what do you mean? Roshni says that this is not a vampire that has been perfected, but it is a vampire that is part of a group of at least 8 to 10 vampires. They have a whole group. One of these Pisciccini makes a person its victim, and all the other 8 to 10 Pisciccanis work with that man and take all the power inside him, and gradually that person goes into the temptation of death. His death is also very high. It's bad. Even after death, his soul does not find peace. Be that as it may, Naveen must have touched the stone. By the way, the direction was enough. When Disha would have seen Naveen, she must have made her move. This is the reason why Naveen fell in love with Disha, and not only that you are his wife, so Disha wants to eliminate you too so that you cannot come between him and Naveen. After hearing all this, Manisha starts crying even more. She folds her hands and says to Roshni, please help me. Let's go to the police station. They give you the direction. Roshni says, what will the police do in this? The police may not even find any trace of Disha. Do you have any proof that there is someone like Disha in this world? Will you show the police these clothes in the name of evidence? Where is it written on these clothes that it belongs to Disha? You don't know Disha's house. If you don't know his village, how will the police help you? Manisha says, so now you tell me, what should I do? Roshni says, first we have to find Naveen. I don't know the direction he is. Where has it gone? Manisha says, I told you that she entered a land. You go there. I am sure we will definitely get some address of Disha from there. Roshni says, yes, you are absolutely right, but it's not right to go at this time. Let's wait a little longer. The day will pass and maybe the rain will stop, and then it is the same. The day starts to pass and gradually the rain also starts to stop. Roshni carries a handbag with her. Inside it was some of his necessities. They immediately went to that place without delay. They reach where Naveen was suddenly sunk into the ground. When the light reaches there, he starts feeling a lot of negative energy around. She immediately puts a Rudraksh garland from her bag around Manisha's neck and says, take son, always keep it with you. It will always protect you. This place is not free from danger. I can feel a lot of negative forces here. Roshni then takes out some shells from her bag. She recites some mantras on those shells and then scatters them on the ground. Roshni points to Manisha and says, yes, we should go towards that. Roshni and Manisha continue from their place to the right. Going a long way, they see a ruin in the distance. Manisha asks, this is probably a ruin. Roshni says, yes, this is what we see Naveen's situation. Honaho Disha brought Naveen here. After learning this, Manisha walks towards the ruins with brisk steps. Manisha says, I don't understand what the ruins are doing in this deserted barren place. Roshni says that it may have been a village or a green field before, but now everything is ruined. All over time. Things change. This ruin also seems to be 100 years old. Where do you find such ruins now? Roshni and Manisha reach near the ruins. Roshni says to Manisha, son, don't come inside. I'll come right away. The light begins to go into the ruins alone. He had a rosary of Rudraksh in his hand. She was chanting some mantra on each grain of the Rudraksh bead and was moving forward. He could see dust, mud, and broken stones all around. There was nothing visible anywhere, which would have made it known that Naveen had come here. Then the lights. She adopts her second solution. She takes out an incense light from her bag and lights it in a fine room in the ruins. Gradually, smoke starts coming out of the incense light. The smoke takes one direction and starts going out of the room. The lights chase that smoke. On the other hand, Manisha was waiting for light outside. Suddenly, he hears Naveen's voice calling Manisha. Manisha gets emotional after hearing Naveen's voice. Manisha also calls out to Naveen and starts going inside the ruins. But Naveen's voice again. It doesn't come. While poor Manisha repeatedly starts looking for Naveen. Then suddenly he hears a voice from a broken room. Yes, Manisha, I am waiting for you. please get me out of here? As soon as Manisha hears that voice, she rushes to that broken room. But what she sees there, her eyes are torn apart because 4 vampires are seen sticking in the 4 corners of the ceiling of that room. His long hair was touching the ground. The nails of the hands were worn a lot. The 4 vampires looked at Manisha. They start laughing. One of them, Pichichini, immediately jumps on top of Manisha. But Manisha quickly gets sidelined and saves herself. Seeing Manisha escape from her clutches, Pichichini opens her mouth angrily and spills out a lot of blood. Manisha gets terrified seeing this and starts calling out to Roshni. Manisha was about to leave the room when the other 3 vampires surrounded Manisha. Manisha was now surrounded by vampires from all sides, and all 4 of them were simultaneously looking at Manisha with devilish laughter. Then those 4 demons together in there. A thick spray of blood from the mouth starts hitting Manisha's body. Just then, a voice comes in Manisha's ears. "You can't take Naveen away from us." Manisha did not know whose voice it was. It just seemed to sound to the lights. On the other hand, Roshni had reached a basement while chasing the smoke of incense sticks, and then the sound of Manisha's screaming comes in her ears. She thinks to herself, "Oh my God, isn't Manisha in? I told him not to." Now Roshni also starts looking for Manisha in the ruins, calling out to Manisha. Is there? Manisha was trying to escape from those vampires. But the spurt of his blood was so strong that it seemed that someone was throwing stones at Manisha. Manisha was trying to get out. But then those 4 Pishikanis grabbed each other's hands and formed a circle and imprisoned Manisha in it. While the Pichichini was drawing blood from her mouth, a strange tingling sound was spreading all around, which was also heard by the light. Roshni reached Manisha looking for Manisha. When he saw the incident happening, he could not believe his eyes. It was the first time he had seen such a scene in his life. For a moment, even Roshni didn't know what to do. Her mind also became numb, but she could not stand for long. She quickly racked her mind and started chanting the Shiva mantra. Through Shiva mantras, the Pishikinis slowly let go of each other's hands. As soon as the lights see that the grip of the vampires is loosening, she immediately sounds Manisha's voice. "Manisha, get out of there." Manisha was. Hearing this, she rushes out quickly. Roshni holds Manisha's hand and quickly brings her out of the ruins. Manisha was completely drenched in blood. But as soon as she comes in the sunlight, the blood on her body slowly starts flying in the air and Manisha becomes absolutely normal. She says nervously, "She was a vampire, wasn't she?" Roshni says yes. "But why did you come in? I told you not to come in. If you didn't have a rosary of Rudraksh around your neck, how long would Pishichini have killed you?" Intellect. "But I heard Naveen's voice, so I went inside." Roshni says Naveen Pukka is inside this ruin. But that voice was not Naveen's. It was a hoax that was pulling you towards him so that he could kill you. Disha knows very well that you know her secret, so she will not leave you alive. That Pishichini can't come out during the day, and even if it does, her powers won't work. That's why they called you in. This ruin is now their home. She can do anything inside this ruin. Intellect. She asks, "So what are we going to do now? How do we reach Naveen, and at night his strength will increase? Right?" Roshni says yes, of course. But we can't take risks at night. Whatever we have to do has to be done now. I say it again, if you hear any sound, don't come in. Maybe Naveen will cry in agony, but you have to keep your heart strong. Manisha nods in the affirmative and Roshni goes back inside the same ruins. This time Roshni was more alert because she saw it with her own eyes. There are still 4 Pishichini inside the ruins. She starts walking towards the basement, chanting mantras with full caution. The door of the basement was made of wood. Although the ruins looked quite old, but looking at the door, it did not seem that it was very old. Perhaps one of the reasons for this was that it was a basement door that was protected from sunlight, rain, wind, and that is why it was held up to this day. Roshni tries to open the door, but she can't. He doesn't understand how this door will open, nor is there any in it. There was no latch or lock. The lights were pushing the door. For a long time, Roshni kept thinking that how will this door open? But in the end, he lost. Frustrated, the light started to leave and then he noticed a strange sign on the wall. It was a bird-like sign. Roshni touched the mark with her hand. As soon as the light touched the sign, the basement door opened automatically. Roshni was also shocked to see this. But she was also happy that her hard work finally paid off. As soon as the light went in, it was only darkness. Darkness appeared. When she turned on the torch of her mobile, she was surprised to see the scene there. He saw the bodies of many men lying there. Some whole bodies and some body parts were cut from somewhere. It was as if his body had been eaten by scratching. There were not only dead bodies of men but also bones. Seeing this, Roshni was terrified. For a moment, even his courage was responding. But when she had come here so hard, she could not go back empty-handed. So he started looking for Naveen among the people present there. Done. Then he started hearing the sound of someone doing it. He listened carefully to where the voice was coming from. She slowly moved further into the basement. At last he saw Naveen, who was tied upside down with a rope to the ceiling of the basement. Blood was dripping from his body. Roshni was watching all this when she started hearing the laughter of the vampires, and then one by one the vampires started coming close to her from behind the light. All the vampires were more beautiful than one. No one could say that she could even drink someone's blood. In those same Pishakanis the light, Disha was also seen, which looked very beautiful. There was a different brilliance in all those girls which was also attracting Roshni towards them. It seemed that the vampires were hypnotizing her. Roshni managed herself in some way. But by then all the vampires had surrounded the lights. Gradually, the walls of the basement begin to crack and blood starts coming out of them. Seeing this, Roshni immediately takes out a few grains of anointed rice from her bag and throws it at the vampires. As soon as that rash on the body of the vampires. When they do, they all come back in their true form. As soon as she comes back to her true form, a vampire snatches her bag from Roshni's hand and throws it away, due to which some of the contents of the bag are scattered on the ground, such as cowries, a glass bottle, a vermilion box, and a sharp-edged knife on whose hand the mother's consecrated chouanry was tied. One vampire attacks Roshni's bag and the other vampire attacks Roshni. She gives Roshni a sharp push that causes the light to hit the basement wall and hurt her head. Strong light due to injury. A scream comes out which reaches Manisha's ears. Roshni holds her head and tries to get up. Then another vampire grabs Roshni's hair and drags her to another wall. The second blow was also very fast. The lights scream even louder. Save. Manisha's heart starts beating fast. She understands that even the light is in danger. Manisha wants to go inside to help Roshni, but Roshni had forbidden him to come in. That is why she was in a dilemma. But several times, Manisha goes inside when Roshni screams. That light? She was moving forward with a voice. Roshni and Pishachani hear Manisha's voice. Hearing Manisha's voice, all the vampires start laughing. Disha says she has come to feast her death. One of the Pishachini says, I'll deal with him a bit. Then Disha says no need, she will come here herself. After all, she too should see the spectacle of her husband's death and this light as well. On hearing this, all the vampires start laughing loudly together and poor Roshni keeps watching them all helplessly. Manisha finds light everywhere in ruins. It was. Meanwhile, he realizes that Roshni had mentioned a cellar. So now Manisha starts looking for that basement and finally she finds the cellar whose door was open. Manisha dares to go inside the basement. It was dark inside, but Manisha doesn't panic. She overcomes the darkness and finally reaches the place where Roshni and her husband Naveen. But seeing the scene there, Manisha's eyes are also torn. She sees the whole 7 vampires at once, which looks quite terrifying. It was. Everyone's eyes were white. The lights were shining through them. Manisha's feet started trembling after seeing a lot of dead bodies on the ground around. She wanted to go back from there, but his body wasn't supporting him. Then Disha came and said, Come on, Manisha ji, I was waiting for you, so after all, she came here while chasing her husband. I thought I would be able to do my job very cleanly. To date, no one has been able to catch me. You're the first woman to reach my destination. Manisha angrily says, Okay, you are that Pishachini who killed my husband. Once. Hey witch, what wrong did my husband do to you that you went after him? Disha says, I am after all these vampires who are after your husband. Your husband is so good. For a man like this, vampires like us are tormented. I met such a person after a long time. I won't kill him so easily. I'm going to kill him in agony. Saying this, she starts laughing loudly. Manisha gets very angry after listening to Disha's words. His blood starts to boil. She screams, Just do Pishachini. I will not let you succeed in your mission. You didn't do well with my husband. Disha says, What bad did I do? Your husband fell into the trap of my appearance. What's my fault in that? I didn't ask Naveen to help me that night, so why did he stop to help me? Why did he take me to his house? I've always been thirsty for men. And if a man comes to me on his own, how will I leave him? I did the same with Naveen. Yes, I can say that Naveen's intention was never wrong about me. He thinks of me as a helpless and helps me. It was. But what do I do? My destiny slipped on your man, and I decided that very night that I had to get Naveen, somehow, and from that night onwards I started taking possession of Naveen. Look at that, he's your husband. As soon as Manisha looks at Naveen, tears start falling from her eyes. Naveen's condition was very bad. He was very weak. It seemed as if he was being tortured a lot. She clings to her husband Naveen as she runs away and starts crying. Then Disha grabs Manisha's hair and pulls her and pushes her and says, "Move away. Now he is my prey and we share our prey with our friends." Manisha was looking at her husband again and again. There were wounds all over his body. It seemed that his body had also been scratched from place to place. But there was still some life left in Naveen. Manisha folds her hands in front of Disha and says, "Please leave my husband. They made a big mistake that they helped you. Please let us out of here." Just then, a vampire comes and strangulates Manisha hard. Roshni was watching all this. Although her condition also remains very fragile, she still dares and rescues Manisha from Pichichini. There was no sound coming out of Roshni's mouth properly. But still she was chanting Shiva mantras. Roshni asks Manisha to chant Shiv mantra as well. Manisha also keeps chanting the mantra continuously. Due to chanting mantras, there is a strange movement in the body of the vampires. It's like someone is tickling them. Seeing the vampires weakening, Roshni says to Manisha. Manisha sees the knife lying on the ground, on which the mother's Chunri is wrapped. Pick up that knife and eliminate all these vampires one by one. Hit them all in the chest. On hearing this, one of the Pichichini quickly proceeds to pick up the knife. But alas, she couldn't even touch that knife. Roshni knew very well that when she told Manisha about the knife, Pichichini would try to throw the knife. She again tells Manisha, "Manisha, quickly pick up that knife." Manisha also picks up the knife in some way. Roshni says Manisha now chants Shiv mantra for 11 days. Blow on this knife and with this knife stab the scene of these vampires. Manisha, even though she takes that knife in her hand, but his hands were shaking less. He had never killed a single fly till date, and there is talk of killing so many vampires here. Manisha says nervously, "But I can't do this. How am I going to kill them all?" Roshni says, "You can do this, and only you can do this. Look, I'm going to have to use a lot of tactics to kill them. But you can do it very easily because you are Naveen's wife. Be the wife of their victim. This job is not too big for you. Remember, you are a sweetheart and there is a lot of power in a honeymoon. The relationship between husband and wife is very sacred. The fates of both are linked to each other. In our society, no one keeps a fast on Karvachov. Otherwise, why would starvation affect the life of another? Naveen's real hypnosis is you. It's not a vampire. That's why you can do it. Do as you were told." When Manisha sees her husband Naveen, she finds herself inside her. It takes courage. Anger begins to build up in his mind. She really wanted to kill Pichichini and does so. She chants the Shiva mantra 11 times, and meanwhile all the Pichichinias try to touch her. But she can't even touch Manisha. After chanting the Shiva mantra 11 times, Manisha blows on that knife. Manisha gets close to a vampire and immediately stabbed him on the chest. As soon as she hits the chest, she starts screaming and falls to the ground. Slowly, his breathing stops. As soon as his condition was other, Pichichinia sees. They all get upset. They all rush out of the basement. Manisha also runs after them. Somehow, Manisha kills 3 other vampires, and now 3 vampires are saved. Those Pichichini hide in different corners of the ruin. Manisha searches for them everywhere, but she can't find them anywhere. Roshni was also coming behind Manisha, and when Roshni sees that Manisha is still looking for Pichichini, she says, "Don't worry. Let me help you." Light. Once again the incense light's on. She recites some mantras, and then the smoke of the incense light spreads in 3 directions. Roshni says softly to Manisha, "Don't let your presence be felt. Remember, you are not a woman. You are a force. This Vampirini is a negative force, and you are positive. They don't have the strength you have. You are a loving woman, and these predatory women have more power than them." Manisha's morale starts to rise, and she is alert and carefully finds a vampire as Roshni tells her. She begs for mercy in front of Pichichini Manisha. She says, "Manisha, leave us. You can make us your slaves if you want. You don't know that we are very great tantrics, but we don't fall into their captivity. We are very powerful. You can make us do a lot." We're going to leave your husband too. You just leave us. Manisha says, I begged you for my husband a while back. Then you were laughing at me. How can you expect me to leave you? She says, Pistaccini, but you think we can give you a lot. We will always protect you. You leave us. We can give you riches and much more. Manisha angrily says, I don't want anything. I just want my husband. And after saying this, Manisha buries the knife in the chest of that Pistaccini, and that Pistaccini piles up there. Similarly, Manisha also reaches out to the other two vampires, and those two vampires also lure Manisha. But Manisha does not fall for their greed. In this way, Manisha kills all the vampires one by one. To all. After the killing, Manisha cries heartily for a while. Roshni gives her courage and asks her to bring Naveen. Manisha quickly goes back to the basement and starts bringing her husband with support. Naveen's condition had worsened. He wasn't even walking properly. He couldn't even recognize Manisha. There was a faintness in his eyes. They were at a great distance from the city and the village at that time. But still, the faith in Manisha's mind does not break. She crosses the entire forest with her half-dead husband and reaches the city. Reach the city and help him immediately. And some people take all three of them to the hospital. Naveen had become very weak in body. The wounds on her body are still alive, which keep reminding Manisha of her past. Naveen doesn't remember what happened to him. He has only been able to remember the night he helped Disha. When Disha came home with him, what happened to him after that? He doesn't remember anything. But since then, Manisha has been teaching Naveen like a child whether the night is light or dark. You don't have to help a stranger. However, Naveen refutes the notion that we are human and that helping keeps humanity alive. But Manisha does not believe this because we think that we are helping a human being. But we don't know if that person is really a human or a vampire. Now look, I will never tell you not to help a person walking on the road. Maybe he is actually a real person, and if he is in trouble, then we must help him. But if there is any doubt in your mind, if there is any supernatural force, if it is a different supernatural force, then somewhere. If it does not harm you, then you can do one thing that you can do by chanting the name of God, remembering God, go to that person and say that we want to help you. Now see, here you will come to know because the name of God is so powerful that if there is any evil power, then it will run away from fear by that name itself. But if someone is actually in need of help, then you help him. Because I don't want you to make this kind of assumption after listening to the story that in the nighttime, people often get ghost witch. Only Pistaccini is found. We can't help anyone in the world. Similarly, if you ever get into trouble, then you also wait for someone or the other for help. So if you help someone, then someone will be able to help you too, and God keeps all this account with him, and I hope you liked the story very much.
So friends, this was our story today. Do tell us how you liked the story by commenting. And those who have not yet subscribed to the channel must subscribe to the channel. Take care of yourself and your family. I, your friend, will meet you soon with a new story. Thank you.